For over 3,000 years, the land of the Nile gave birth to one of the most extraordinary civilizations in history. This is the story of ancient Egypt, a land of pharaohs, pyramids, and timeless mysteries. This is Egypt, a land where endless deserts meet the life-giving waters of the Nile. For thousands of years, its people built cities of stone and temples of the gods, raising monuments so mighty that they still defy time itself. Here, kings were worshipped as living gods, knowledge was carved into sacred hieroglyphs, and the rhythm of life followed the eternal rise and fall of the river. But Egypt was more than just its monuments. It was a civilization of farmers, priests, artisans, and traders, each playing their part in building a culture. To walk through Egypt was to walk through history itself, a place where myth and reality were woven into every stone and every grain of sand. The Greek historian Herodotus once called Egypt the gift of the Nile. Without the river's floods, there would be no fertile soil, no crops, no life. The Nile shaped Egypt's economy, religion, and daily life. Around 2600 BC, Egypt entered its old kingdom, the age of the pyramids. Pharaohs were seen as living gods, and their tombs were built to last forever. The Great Pyramid of Giza still stands as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Religion was the heartbeat of Egypt. They worshipped gods like Ra, the sun god, Osiris, the god of the afterlife, and Isis, goddess of magic. Every temple, every ritual reflected their belief in life after death. The Egyptians were among the first to record their history in writing. Using hieroglyphs, they inscribed prayers, laws, and royal decrees onto stone and papyrus. This writing system preserved their knowledge for thousands of years and still fascinates us today. The Middle Kingdom brought stability and culture. Pharaohs focused on trade, art, and literature. It was a time of prosperity, but also one of constant struggle to keep Egypt united. Egypt reached its golden age in the New Kingdom. Pharaohs like Ramses the Great expanded Egypt's power through war and diplomacy. Magnificent temples rose across the land, proclaiming Egypt's glory. But Egypt also saw bold experiments. Pharaoh Akhenaten, alongside his queen Nefertiti, broke with tradition. He abandoned the old gods and declared Aten, the sun disk, as the only true god. This religious revolution shook Egypt, but after his death, the old gods returned. Among the pharaohs, one stood unique, Hatshepsut, the queen who ruled as king. She brought wealth through trade, and her monuments still tell the story of her remarkable reign. After the chaos of Akhenaten's revolution, a boy king took the throne, Tutankhamun. Though his reign was short, his tomb, discovered in 1922, filled with treasures, became one of the greatest archaeological finds in history, making him the most famous pharaoh of all. But Egypt was not only about kings and wars. Farmers, craftsmen, and merchants formed the backbone of society. They lived simple lives, yet their culture gave the world writing, medicine, and art. Egypt's brilliance was carved in stone. Their temples, statues, and hieroglyphs were not just art. They were eternal messages to the gods and to future generations. The towering obelisks and majestic columns of Luxor and Karnak still inspire awe today. Egypt was not only a land of peace and culture, it was also a land of warriors. With their chariots, archers, and disciplined armies, Egyptian pharaohs defended their land and expanded their empire across the Middle East and Africa. Religion was at the very heart of Egyptian life. From Ra, the sun god, to Osiris, ruler of the afterlife, the gods shaped every ritual, festival, and belief of this ancient land.
To Egyptians, death was not an end but a beginning. Through mummification, they prepared the body for eternity, believing that the soul would awaken in the afterlife.
The pyramids were not just monuments. They were eternal stairways to heaven, designed to preserve the pharaoh's soul for all time.
Egypt's brilliance extended to science, from medicine to mathematics and astronomy. Their knowledge laid the foundation for civilizations that followed. Egypt thrived on trade. Gold from Nubia, cedar from Lebanon, and spices from distant lands flowed into its markets, making Egypt one of the wealthiest empires of its time. Over centuries, Egypt faced waves of invaders. The Libyans, Nubians, Persians, and finally Alexander the Great. Though its power faded, its culture remained immortal. As the centuries passed, Egypt was weakened from within. Corruption, heavy taxation, and political infighting eroded the once great empire. Foreign invaders like the Hyksos swept into Egypt, introducing new weapons and challenging the pharaoh's dominance. Ramses II in golden armor, towering statues being built, Egyptian army marching with banners. Egypt's armies clashed with powerful rivals, such as the Hittites, in battles that shook the ancient world. But the balance of power was shifting across the ancient world. From the east came the mighty Persian Empire, whose armies swept across the fertile lands of Mesopotamia and set their eyes on Egypt. The once proud kingdom, weakened by civil strife and political corruption, could not resist their strength. Pharaohs, once seen as gods on earth, were forced to bow before foreign rulers. Temples that had stood for centuries now carried the banners of Persia, and Egypt's independence slowly faded into memory. Yet history had another twist. From Macedonia came Alexander the Great, one of the most brilliant military leaders the world had ever known. When he entered Egypt, he was not met with resistance but with celebration. The people, weary of Persian domination, hailed him as a liberator. Alexander honored Egypt's traditions, visited the oracle of Amun at Siwa, and declared himself the rightful pharaoh. He founded the city of Alexandria, a jewel of the Mediterranean, destined to become a center of trade, knowledge, and culture for centuries to come. After Alexander's death, his empire was divided among his generals, and Egypt fell into the hands of the Ptolemies, a Greek dynasty that ruled for nearly 300 years. Under their reign, Egypt once again flourished, blending Greek and Egyptian traditions into a unique culture. But this golden age was not eternal. Rome's power grew stronger with each passing century, and Egypt's fate became entangled with the ambitions of its final and most famous ruler, Cleopatra VII. Intelligent, charismatic, and politically astute, Cleopatra sought alliances with Rome's greatest leaders, first Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony. Her reign was marked by brilliance and tragedy as she struggled to preserve Egypt's independence against the rising tide of Rome. With her death, more than 3,000 years of pharaonic history came to an end, and Egypt was forever transformed into a province of the Roman Empire. Though the kingdoms of Egypt rose and fell, though foreign empires ruled its lands, the spirit of Egypt never died. Its monuments still tower above the sands, its hieroglyphs still whisper across stone walls, and its wisdom still inspires the modern world. The Nile continues to flow, just as it did thousands of years ago, carrying the memory of a civilization that defined eternity. Egypt gave humanity architecture that defied time, science that shaped the stars, and stories of gods and kings that still live in our imagination. This is the legacy of Egypt, not a forgotten empire, but a timeless echo, calling across the ages, reminding us that history itself was born upon the banks of the Nile. Thousands of years ago, but Egypt history is still inspiring.